Hi everyone, this is Joanne Miller and you've reached Crafting with Purple. This class starts at 2:30. It's now 2:29 and I know lots of my friends are joining in, so I just decided to start this just a touch early so people could find us. We're going to be learning about duct tape flowers, and I'm actually going to demonstrate that here on Periscope. This will also be archived later on my YouTube channel called Crafting with Purple. And all you have to do is, hey Laura, I'm so glad you joined us. For those of you who may be watching the archive later on YouTube, you don't get to see the things that are scrolling up on the screen. I can just see that Margaret from the United Kingdom joined us. I'm glad you're feeling up to it. And I'm just watching some of the names that are coming up, and all kinds of people are joining in. So we're going to give everybody just another minute to try to find us. For those of you who have no clue what you are getting into, this is Crafting with Purple. Our goal is duct tape flowers. I'm going to teach you a couple different methods of what we're going to be doing, both the fringe technique and rose petals, and how we make traditional flowers as well as things that we can utilize as pins or on our hats. So, and it's just now 2:30 and people are joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get class started. And a lot of the folks that are joining in, hello back. People are saying hello to me on the screen. For those of you who have been interacting with me on Facebook or might have found my YouTube channel earlier, you already have your craft supplies. So I'm going to go through the craft supplies and then I will introduce myself. Anyways, my contact information is right there, and again, that'll be on the archive. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/purpleology, PURPLEOLOGY. And if you need to reach me by email, it's joanne@purpleology.com. So kind of a theme going on there. I do love purple, and as you can tell by my picture that's showing there on the screen, I am a member of the Red Hat Society. But let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do first, and then I'll actually get into our supplies. So we're going to be making duct tape flowers. Here's one that I made, and it's on a pin back. So I'm going to talk to you about what this backing is and how easy it is to find these in the craft store. Thank you, Margaret. I'm glad that you love this button. So you're going to be learning how to make it. We're also going to talk about how to make traditional flowers. Here's one. Excuse me as I try to get everything into the screen. It's hard. I've got this set up, so it's hard for me to get the right angle. There we go. This one was done on a straw. We'll talk about that. I've just started one. It's actually on a fabulous purple pen with purple ink. And I've just started a flower at this end, and we'll talk about this again in just a little bit. So those are what our goal is for crafting today. So what are the supplies that you need? Well, you obviously need some kind of duct tape. This one is fabulous space print. They come in all different colors and variety of things. So whatever you like to craft with. One of the other ones we're going to be using today is this fabulous butterfly print. For those of you who don't know, I love being online. For those in the Red Hat Society, we are calling them social butterflies because they just flitter around both online and off. So I do love things that have butterflies on it. Let me go ahead, and it's going to get messy for just a minute because I need to clear off the screen. So, oh, that was a piece of duct tape I added to a bow. And if you go to my YouTube channel called Crafting with Purple, and that's PRPLE, just look for it on YouTube. I've demonstrated how to make this origami bow, and then I just added a little duct tape embellishment on it, and I'm making some duck gifts for some people. And so I'll show you the duck as soon as I figure out where I did with it. Here we go. Duct tape actually comes in a duck print, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But let me take just a second, clear this all off. Oh, and if you do want to join the Red Hat Society, please make sure you ask me about that on Facebook, facebook.com/purpleology, or email me at joanne@purpleology.com, and I'll be happy to tell you how to join the Red Hat Society. So, met lots of fabulous people that way. So I'm clearing off my screen that way. All this clutter is out of the way. So another flower that I'm actually working on, it's actually in parts right now. And we'll talk about how to combine things. Okay, so I've cleared off my screen. You don't see all the chaos that's off here, so that way we can work out here. So what are the supplies that we need today? Obviously we need some kind of duct tape. I'm using some Duct Tape brand duct tape, but there's all different kinds of brands, and use whatever you like, colors, patterns, whatever. You need to have a scissors, something nice and sharp, safety first. I like to use ones that are Teflon coated or non-stick. They will actually say that on the packaging or on the scissors. It just helps you cut through the duct tape a little bit easier because of the tape. I've been told, although I have not tested yet, about using just a very light coating of Vaseline in order to help the stickiness. Things you do not need. While I'm going to use it just for an example, and this is hard because it's clear. You do not need a ruler. I hate to measure, so if I can figure out how not to measure, I won't. So I'm going to use this just as an example later on so you can get some measurements, but everything, no measuring, no muss, no fuss. I like that. So let me just move this really quick for hello everybody. My name is Joanne Miller. A lot of my friends call me Purple, and this is Crafting with Purple, and this is our first official broadcast. I'm glad that Margaret at least likes that there's no measurements. My goal when I'm crafting is I want to do things that are easy but look really cool when they're done. I want things that are portable so I can take them with me. I do a lot of traveling. I also like just to do things when I'm sitting in front of the telly. So I want things that are portable, easy to do. I can just pick up and set aside and start again. And I just hate measuring. So if I can get away without measuring, I definitely won't measure. So anyways, since we are crafting, and my hat's going to get in the way, I apologize, but hat's off. And I'm going to set it up there. And you know, and I agree with those of you out there, TV without crafting can be sometimes boring. So my screen around, and I'm going to set you guys down here. This is a little bit hard because I have to look at the screen and kind of stretch out in front of me and work. So we talked about our two major supplies, duct tape and scissors. We also need to have bases to work on. So when we're making things like these traditional flowers, we need some kind of stem. And our stem can be a piece of wood, it can be a straw, it could be a pen. Remember I showed you the one that started, and that's on a pen. So you need some kind of stem to work on. You can even take a piece of duct tape and roll it up and use that as a stem. So anything will work. For the other kind of flowers we're going to make, we want to have them so that they're on a flat back surface. And for those, I really like using these badge buttons. They're sometimes called customizable buttons. And they're these plastic buttons, and they're really useful. You can print things off and sandwich them between two pieces of plastic. And when you take it out of the bag, here's that nice little button. But it actually separates in two pieces, and I'm not going to show it here because it's hard for me to do at this angle. There's a little hole in the back, and you actually push a pin through, and magic of camera, because I've already done it, it separates into two pieces. Now if you've already bought this particular brand, each brand's a little bit different, you might want to go ahead and separate the pieces. This top piece, I'm going to save this for later. I'm not going to be using it today, but I try not to throw things away and recycle them. And this is going to have, and actually I could do it directly on this and then just glue a pin back on. So this is really useful. I'm going to set it aside. It's the bottom portion, and if you notice, it's clear, which is actually kind of cool. But when you craft on it, when it's clear, you'll actually see the duct tape. So there's the duct tape on that flower that I've made. That little embellishment needs to get tacked down a little bit. And my husband didn't like that. So for some of you that are doing a lot of these, you may want to paint the back. And all I did was paint it first before I started crafting my flower. So, and here's what it looks like. All I did was I took some model paint and I paint. Where did I find the buttons? And yes, I do like seeing the duct tape in the back. It just depends on your preference. I found that particular package of buttons that I showed you at Walmart here in the United States. I know some of you are overseas. Any craft store will have those kind of buttons. So just ask them for the customizable buttons or the customizable badges, and you'll find them somewhere in the craft center. But you don't have to have them. You can use on any base. This is just a piece of wood, but you will have to then, of course, put some kind of backing on it. So, okay, somebody said they found them on eBay. So again, you can find them almost anywhere. There's two techniques we're using today. So let me just kind of move along really quick. We're going to be doing a fringe technique like I have here on the traditional flowers, and they're all just fringed up. Okay, and we can use that not only on our traditional flowers, but also as our button. And we're going to talk about our rose petal. I don't have a rose petal started as a traditional flower, but those are those petals that are sticking up here. And this is actually a rose combined with a fringe. And we'll talk about combining. So let's just start with how do we do the two techniques before we actually make anything. So since I'm just doing a test of stuff, I'm putting my ruler out of the way. I'm just grab my duct tape. Now in this case I'm going to use the duct tape because I think it's kind of cool, and I did it because I wanted to show you guys an example. So I'm just going to actually, since we're just doing a test, I'm just going to pull off a couple inches. And I'm sorry for going out of screen. It's hard for me to see exactly what I'm doing and stay in focus all at the same time. And I'm just going to cut straight across. Now in my case, I sometimes leave a little tab on my duct tape so that way it doesn't adhere down to itself. It's easier for me to stick it up. So we just have a small piece of duct tape. It could be any size. And again, this is the fringe technique that we're going to go over. I'm just moving some things out of the way. And I need to fold it over onto itself. But before you do that, I don't want to fold it in half. I want to fold it so that I leave a little bit of a sticky edge. I need to have, it's about 1/4 of an inch, but you can just eyeball it, about that much. I'm going to put it down here on the table so that I can smooth it out. It's all the way at the bottom of your screen, and I'll lift it back up again. And if you're like me, your nail will stick to your duct tape, so just kind of pull yourself out, smooth it down. Okay, so I've folded over my duct tape, and I've left a little bit of a sticky edge, and we need that sticky edge in order to adhere to our project. Now we're going to fringe it. Now fringing just means that we're going to be making strips. And, oh, you like it down there? Okay. So fringing just means that we're going to be doing strips. I'm just going to make it horizontal. It's actually kind of interesting because I'm looking at the screen while I'm doing this. Hey Dina, glad you found us. We're doing the fringe technique. So we just folded over a piece of duct tape onto ourselves, leaving just a little bit of a sticky edge. And it's about 1/4 of an inch because I actually measured it. Now you can make your fringe as big or as small as you want. And again, it's hard for me to eyeball it. But you only want to cut where you've doubled over. You do not want to cut on the sticky stuff. So you're just going to work your way down. And I apologize, I'm having trouble seeing. And you can go as fast as you want, as slow as you want. If you go, I cut a piece off, don't panic. You've got all this nice fringe. And we're just going to save that because we're going to be able to use it later. Okay? So the thing on fringing is that basically you kind of mess up your pattern. So when you're buying things and using the fringe technique, kind of realize that that pattern's going to disappear. So you're buying it because you like the colors. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. And you would just fringe all the way down. So again, as narrow or as wide as you want. If you're looking at your duct tape, it actually has little striation lines, and you can actually follow that along. And you're just going to work your way down, all the way down. And again, as fast and as slow as you want. Some of us cut faster than others, some of us have arm issues. So you just decide. And you work with whatever length of duct tape you want to use. If I'm doing something around a straw or a pen, I'm usually going to start off with a much longer piece. But I know that I have time to fringe it up and use it. So we do that all the way down to the end, and I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to come back to this when we're ready to craft. So we've already learned our fringe technique. That's technique number 1. Let's go on to technique number 2. Margaret's commenting that she really likes my scissors better than the Vaseline. Yeah, using the Teflon or nonstick. I bought those at Walmart for less than $10. I've seen them on Amazon. Most craft store has them. The other technique is the rose petal technique. And for that one, I'm actually going to work off the roll. So instead of cutting a piece first, I'm just going to use the roll. And there's been comments that you can find this stuff on eBay. Yeah, eBay's your friend. I didn't really cut this straight. If you noticed, I ended up cutting on an angle. So when that happens, just come along, and you always want to try to start with more or less a straight edge. And notice I did not measure. Now in this case, to work for our rose petal technique, I was just doing this so you could see the pattern. We're going to do it so the sticky side is towards you. Okay? You're going to pull off a little bit, and for those just joining us, we're going over the rose petal technique. If you look for YouTube videos on the rose petal technique, they're going to talk about laying it down on your cutting mat, measuring it. I devised this way a year ago, so I didn't have to measure. So I've got this left on the roll, and what I'm going to do is I'm right-handed. So I'm going to start at the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to pull it down. I'm leaving a sticky edge here to my left, and I pulled it so it's down like a triangle. Okay, so when you're pulling it down and you figure out, and this is about a centimeter, I measured in a metric on that one, that's about a centimeter across. So again, we're just pulling it down and we're leaving a sticky edge here. We're going to cut it off, but we need a little bit of stickiness left on our petal. So literally just kind of eyeball it, cut it straight across, put this down, and I've left just the littlest edge. So just, you know, since I'm working a metric on this one, about 3 millimeters. But again, I didn't measure it. It's forgiving. Notice I wasn't even straight across, so don't panic about that. I'm going to lift up my bottom edge, and I'm going to adhere it right down to make my rose petal or my triangle. Okay, and now I've got it with my little sticky edge, so it's ready for my project. Now this one, of course, had a nice little duck on centered, but trust me, that doesn't happen usually. I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to do one more so that you can get this technique down. Okay, and if I was normally working with this, I would have pulled off a longer amount, left it on my roll, and I usually stick the roll between my stomach and the table. That works really well. So to make my petal, upper right hand corner, I'm going to pull it down. I'm just eyeballing it to figure out where it needs to be. Notice I'm not really worrying about whether or not I'm straight across. Don't panic. I don't know if you can see it, but there's those lovely striation lines that are here, and those really help. They're there because you can actually rip the tape with your hand. I don't really have enough hand strength to do that, but I know some people do. Okay, so now I'm just going to fold this up to make my point. It fixes the fact that I wasn't straight across. Okay, and there's my other petal. Okay. Do I need to show anybody the petal again, or how's everybody doing out there? Okay, I'll do it one more time. So and then we'll start playing with making things. Okay, so I just pull it off, and of course if you're left-handed, reverse the instructions. I pull it down, I give it a snip across, I pull it up to make my point. That's why we left the sticky edge, that way it could stick back down. And I've got my little petal here, and it's all ready for me to use. Alright, so let's make something. Alright, I decided that I wanted to, I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah, I was using my duck. I got these straws. They actually have a bend in it, so I was going to make a bouquet of flowers, and this is kind of nice because the flower on the end here, I can actually bend them and position my flowers. So besides using a straight straw, you might want to look for one of these that are bendable. And I'm going to go ahead and take that little piece of duck fringe that I made earlier, and I don't know what color you're using. And I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to do it upside down. I don't normally work this way, but I can start it here at the bottom. I can make it higher up. It just depends on where I want to start it. I usually want to start it kind of lower, and then we're just going to twirl it. Now I'm twirling it towards you. I normally would twirl away from me. Sometimes I also give a little bit of tug as I'm doing it. It just helps to adhere everything down, and I'm just rolling it right up. And I'm rolling it right on itself, however long your tape was. That tape piece wasn't very long. I'm going to adhere it down, and here we have our fabulous fringe. Now later, if I wanted to, for those of you who are crafty, you might want to spread this out and put yourself a nice little embellishment in the center. Sorry, I don't think you can see that. The other thing you can do is think about this. It's on a straw. You could cut this off. You now have a bead. So now think about this. How cool of a little earring would this make? A little fringy earring. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this besides using it as a traditional flower. And we keep doing that until we're all done. And make it as wide as we want. We can either keep rolling it on itself or work its way down. On this one, I'm going to switch screens. When I was making it, I just kept going around and around and around. When I got to the end, I kind of had this nice big ball, and I decided I wrapped it with some additional duct tape to kind of cover that all up, because I thought it kind of looked more like a stem. If I had green duct tape, it would look kind of cool. It looked like a base of a flower. So that's how I made that one. Okay, so let's talk about the rose petals and doing that as a traditional. So on that one, I actually ahead of time made some that are butterflies. So, and I have a blue straw here because I've got somebody who loves blue, and I'm going to be making them a gift. So on one of your reserved rose petals that you have, if you were following along with me, I would normally just make a petal. Try to figure out where I want it. Do I want it all the way up there? I usually want it down a little bit lower. Let me move back in the screen here. So I just try to figure out where I want to have it. And then I just roll it around to make that little bud. Right now it looks like kind of like a calla lily. Again, think about snipping that off and using that. We did it last year with my chapter, and we made little earrings out of it. How cool would that be? For your next petal, when you're placing it, I usually kind of come directly across from it, but you can come just a little bit off. It just depends on how you like to place things. So I usually kind of figure out where I want to go, and then I kind of just smooth down the sides. I've moved off camera and move it around. And again, you're going to keep doing that and going around and around and around until you get that as full as you want. But I want to get on to the pins because that's really what I wanted, because I wanted something to embellish my hat and to wear as opposed to a traditional flower. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pin back. Now the pins are a little bit different in that, let me take one that's got painted because that way you don't see through it. It'll be a little easier for you to follow along with me. Now on the pin backs, we're actually going to work from the outside edge into the center. Just what we just did was from the inside out. This time we're going to go from the outside in as we're building it up. So I went ahead and fringed some pieces up as soon as I remember where I tucked them. And let me go ahead and I'll use this piece of duck that I had done earlier. Normally I would make a piece significantly longer than this. And I'm just going to start putting it here. Now the reason I like these particular badges, they have a little bit of a lip, so it helps my tape hold up, stand up I should say, not hold up. And I just follow this along, follow the edge along, and I just keep tacking it down. Sometimes it buckles as it makes the corner, and that's okay. And I just keep tacking it down and tacking it down and tacking it down all the way around. Now of course this piece isn't long enough. I'm not going to panic here. I'm just going to keep going. And I would just go ahead and fringe another piece. I'd overlap it a little bit. I went off screen. I'd overlap a little bit and I'd keep going. And I would just keep going around and around and around until it meets the center. Does that make sense to everybody? And again, that little edge is helping things stand up a little bit. Here's one that I did earlier. I did this because of a Woodstock event I was supposed to go to, and I didn't. But and this fringe I made significantly wider. So I just kept going. It was one long piece that I actually no, it was probably two long pieces. And I just went around and around and around. And then when I got to the center, I ended up just adding a little embellishment. Now in this case it was just a little acrylic gem, but it could have been anything. It could be, you could take a button, and of course this one had adhesive on it, but this you could glue down. I could have taken something a little bit larger, a star. I have a chapter called the Star Sisters, and this was actually just a little Christmas ornament I bought at Target on sale after Christmas. So let me show you a little fringe one that I did earlier. today that I was starting to play with. I thought, well, what else could I use for backing? So I took a purple button that I had. I took the star pattern, reaching out here, the star pattern duct tape I had, or the galaxy duct tape. I fringed it. It was a little harder to kind of go round and around and around. I did the exact same thing, but I used the button as my back. And then I took my little ornament, I took out the little hook thing, and I just glued it on. Okay. In this case, there's all kinds of glue. What I used was called Gem Tack. And I'm glad that you guys love that. It's a permanent glue. It bonds rhinestones, crystals, sequins. It dries clear. It's fabulous. When you're working on duct tape, make sure it says that it will glue onto plastic, so that way you know it's going to work. I haven't decided what's going to happen. I might make a second one and then make them into earrings, or I'll add a little pin back to here to my hat. And Dean, I'm glad that you like it. So anyway, so that's how you can do. So you can do the fringe technique on anything. So, you know, be open to what you're doing. All right, let's talk about the rose technique, because that's really my favorite. I love how the petals stick up. So here's one that I did before. And so again, I did these roses. I did some fringe. I added an embellishment. Now, this one had some adhesive on the back, but it keeps popping up. So I'm going to have to use a little bit of my Gem Tack and stick it back down a little bit. Okay, so how do we get started on our roses? So we go ahead and we grab a pin back, okay, and since I already have some flowers, excuse me, some rose petals made, I'm just going to go ahead and grab them from my workstation off to the side. Oh, that reminds me, I'm using a cutting mat on my table, so I can stick things down and pull them back up without a problem. Take into account what your mat is. If you're not working on a mat, you're working on a painted surface, please put your things down, sticky side up. Otherwise, you're going to pull this up and you're going to pull the tape off of that really nice table. So, you know, take into account what surface you're working on. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it down. And I'm just working my way. I just picked where I wanted to start. And I just adhered it down so the sticky was all inside the plastic, and because it's got that nice ridge, it makes that petal stand up. That's why I like using these. I'm trying to figure out where my clear one is. That way you can see exactly what I'm doing. So let me show you what I'm doing. I'll just pull that guy off. Okay, so here's my clear one. And I'm just going to stick it down. Just trying to get it to the edge. And if I turn it over, you can see that I've just stuck it down. Okay. Now your placement, if you wanted to and be really exact, you could place one down here at the bottom, two at the sides. I just tend to decide how I want to do it in terms of distance apart. And I just usually start doing it in a swirl. So I'm just going to take the next one and put it down. And the next one and put it down. And since I don't have another one made, normally I don't make them ahead of time like this, but you could. Let me get these guys out of the way because they're bothering me right now. So I need to go ahead and make another rose petal. So let me go ahead and do that. So normally I would tend to, when I'm working, because I just want to be able to jump up and stop whatever I'm doing, leave wherever I'm at, or if I'm in the car, I don't have a place to stick everything. So I just go ahead and make that one petal. And then I go ahead and stick it down. And I'm just going to do that all the way around until I get my circle. And then I'll go ahead and do another layer and another layer and another layer until I get all the way to the inside. And then what I did on these, you can either finish it with that way. I decided that a little bit of the fringe would work really well, and then an embellishment on the inside. But I didn't have to do the fringe. I could have just found an embellishment that fit and put that on the inside. So it depends on what you like. One that I was playing with yesterday, and I haven't decided, I only did one layer of the rose petals. So that's all I did, was one layer all the way around to the rose petals. Then I kind of went ahead and I added a layer of fringe, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do here, whether or not I just wanted to put a large embellishment on the inside. For those of you, if you pop over to my YouTube channel later and look up Crafting with Purple, P-R-P-L-E, there's a couple test broadcasts I did. Margaret thinks that a yellow gem would look good there. Actually, the star would look really cool in here. Let me grab a star. This one doesn't have any sequins in it, but this particular star would look fabulous in there. But I did a quick little pleated flower, and you'll find that on my test video from last week if you want to go look at it. And I made a little flower, and I'm thinking that I might glue that inside and do that, because I'm thinking that's kind of cool. And I've combined all these different techniques. So the thing is, play with it. Be creative. Think about things that you already have. This particular flower I thought was cool, but I didn't think it was enough. I got these really cool little butterflies at the dollar store the other day. And I realized since I did this on a straw that I went out of camera. I can't really show it here. But if I glue it in, I can glue a little butterfly right there on my flower. When I put it in the bouquet, it'll just give it just something else, which would be kind of cool. So, start being really creative with what you're doing, and as you're making things. One of the other things I was playing with, there's actually, duct tape actually makes a brand of markers. So you can actually draw on your duct tape. So I just took my Galaxy duct tape and I was painting on it because I was just trying to play around. So if I needed an embellishment, I could create it out of duct tape. If I wanted to, either by painting it myself, and use something that's specific to duct tape or that I'll do on plastic. I made this little origami bow last night. For those of you who watched me on Facebook, have already seen the video. Somebody was having trouble making the bow, so I did a slowed down version, and that's on my YouTube channel. But it needed something, so I went ahead and just cut out that little duck from my duct tape and embellished it here. So, because I'm thinking I may add some of the duck to that pen I'm making, and then I'm going to do a whole little stationery set for somebody, because I've got a couple people who just absolutely adore ducks. So, all kinds of ways to be creative. So I think I've covered just about anything. So the question is, does anyone have any questions out there that we need to talk about, for me to help you out? Here's that pen that I started, and I was thinking, Quackers, yeah, Quacker Factory. I was thinking about that. I love Quacker Factory from QVC, by the way. At this one, I decided I think I might want to put some rose petals. So I think I'm going to add some rose petals right around it on this one. So, before we were doing things inside out, this time it's, or outside in, this time it's inside out. And I'm just eyeballing where it goes on both ends. I have a couple more that I've made. I'm going to make it symmetric. So I'm putting that one just right in between the two. I like things that are symmetric. Grab another one here. Put it right there. And I could keep going and make it as big as I wanted. And if I didn't like the way this looked on the outside, I could just cover it. I used a piece of purple duct tape. I wanted to cover the logo. So I had just some plain purple tape that I covered up. Here's what it looked like to begin with. I'm thinking about this one might have this gem in the middle. So I was thinking about that. But I wanted to cover up the word Neon Extreme. I got these, by the way, for those of you that are in the United States, I got these at Five Below. They were 2 for $1, and it was purple with purple ink. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. So in this one, I'm just going to keep putting on my petals. I think I want them in between, alternating where I go, because I want this to be just a little bit fatter. I got one more petal that I've already made ahead of time, and I'm just going to start working my way around. So, like I said, easy to do, but makes an awesome gift. Portable, no measuring. To me, that's the perfect craft. So I really thank everyone who joined in and joined me. This will be up on YouTube so that you can go over this later and start and stop it wherever you need to. If you have any questions, please find me on Facebook, facebook.com/purpleology, Purpleology. I'm happy to answer questions at any time. Or on the YouTube channel, please go and message me and let me know. Thank you, Margaret, for telling me that it was the best of all worlds. And Laura, I'm glad that you thought I did a great job. I apologize for the starting and stopping, but for those of you that are on Periscope, try working in front of you through the screen. It's a little difficult. Did best I can. So I'm glad you all loved it. I'll see you online on Facebook. For those of my Red Hat friends, I hope to see you in Indianapolis at the Sparkle Speedway in August. For those of you who just need more information on the Red Hat Society, please contact me and I'll help you get started and connect you up with fabulous ladies across the world. For those of you who don't know, the Red Hat Society is a social organization for women. Yes, Margaret, we do have great fun and we do learn something new, not only from each other. So I've met some fabulous women all across the world as well as locally. So please let me know how I can assist you with that. So I'm going to sign off for now. The next class is actually going to be coffee related. We're going to deal with getting your caffeine on. We're going to talk about painting coffee cups using those cup holders from my favorite coffee house, Starbucks. You might want to save those. We're going to talk about how you could use those in crafting. It's going to be Sunday at 2:30, the same time, and that, if I got my Sunday correct, it's July 12th. It will be up on Facebook and it'll be on my Twitter feed. I will announce it there as well. And again, to find me on Facebook or on Twitter, it's Purpleology, Purpleology. And so please follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, here on Periscope, and as well subscribe to my Crafting with Purple channel, and that's PRPLE. It's missing the U because I need all of you to help complete this channel. So I'm going to sign off from now. Thanks for joining me. Bye.